you're right. I don't disagree, but
Welcome to the Buff Show.
Paden's trying to fight me.
Today's gonna be a good episode. We probably should have just shot this already. I think.
No, yeah.
What do we
probably.
think?
We're learning lessons.
So we have a good market update for you. These are kind of my favorite podcasts to shoot because we get to look back on what we're seeing in the market over the past month. These February numbers that we're reviewing just barely came out like a day ago. So today is March 14th, Pi Day. We need a pie.
3.14. That's why we called it Pi Day. Okay,
I didn't I didn't bring it. Today's episode sponsored by Rockstar. What did we do? What's been going on in the brokerage lately?
We had our big client appreciation party.
Yeah,
Rush Funplex.
big. Yeah, and that was last night, and I'm like hungover from it a little bit.
It's a lot of talking. For sure.
It was awesome though.
You guys are pansies.
Yeah, Ben's like all chipper and like.
I'm like, I want to go back. Let's foam pit this thing.
Look at me. I'm Ben. I'm tougher than the Padens.
Well, I mean,
You jumped off the foam pit.
oh yeah. Remember?
Is it pretty nice?
I mean, no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I'm like 250 pounds, and I kept my legs straight, right to the bottom.
How was getting out? Was it hard to get out of it or not bad?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I tried to climb the rope there, and it was extremely hard. And a lot of people were watching, and my back was cramping.
You crawled
really
up
bad.
in like 30 seconds though.
It felt way longer.
Your buddy, who was your buddy that jumped? Oh, we don't got to talk about this too much. But who's your buddy that
That was
jumped
my
off the top
brother-in-law,
of that? I was like, you
Carson.
got to.
It's because one of our friends was like, he'd been watching people climb the rope the whole time. He's like, I can't. No, nobody's done it. And he's like, $10 says you guys can't do it. And then I about quit though. I about dropped. It hurt my hands.
Well, he almost caught the rope on his way down. Though.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
but
it was sketchy. But anyways, we had that. A few other things you guys probably got. We have a newsletter that we created with just a market update and stuff like that. We sent out and we have a blog for this, but this is our Save the Date events. So in March, I just want to cover some of the things that are coming up. Got St. Patrick's Day Parade, the Antelope Island Run, that's March 28th. And then the Provo, Utah Home Show, March 28th through 29th. So those are the big things happening in March. March is kind of, I don't love March. Do you guys like it, March?
Because my birthday's in March, or why?
Well, oh yeah, it was Ben's
point.
birthday.
Yeah. Why didn't that make the calendar?
Yeah, I don't know why that didn't.
You know.
We did have cake though.
Yeah, green beer and Irish car bombs. I'm just saying.
We had cake for your birthday though.
We did? Oh yeah, we did.
And you gotta tell everybody about the present you got.
It was this. Can you blur that out? Okay.
No, you can keep that.
Yeah.
It's a
It's a ball marker, but it flips up the birdie finger.
no, but
for
then
golf.
you got something that goes in the back of your car.
And another a light that I can put in the back of my car with a remote that has a hand, and it'll go this, or this.
Or this. That's I love
that
you.
one.
No,
Is that I love you?
This is rock on.
Yeah, I said that.
That's hang loose. I love you. So you got to know your signs.
Which one's rock on?
Ben's gonna be like,
Is it?
this one's rock on, right?
Okay, what's I love you?
With a
thumb.
With the thumb.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Know your signs before you use it.
Just start flicking game signs out there.
Oh.
No.
Anyways, so we're gonna jump into this. The monthly indicators. Who wants to take it off? I guess what's the interest rate right now?
6.84% was the average for February of 2025.
6.84. So is it down?
A little bit down. I want to say 6.9 something for January. So it's been trending up since September, and now it's thinking about trending down, but we need another month to see if it's going to keep trending.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff up in the air.
Still high, just in general.
Still-
it's all between 7 and 6.8. It's all high.
Still not great. I pulled this. I just want to talk about this. So March 14th of 2024, we had 7,246 homes on the market. March 14th, 2025, 10,444 homes on the market, a difference of 44.13%, which we'll talk.
Yeah, we will.
We'll talk about this. So let's dive into this. So you want to take it off with new listings?
I'll start with new listings. This is for the entire state of Utah in February of 2025. There was 4,858 new listings. In February of 2024, there's 4,507. It's for an increase of about 7.8%. We're seeing more listings as compared to last year at the same time.
It's just weird how much these numbers jump all around. Like, that's almost 10%. It's a pretty big jump. You want to do closed?
Sure, I'll do closed. Closed sales. So a count of the actual sales that closed in a given month. So February 2024, we have, that's something's weird. 2,999. And February 2025, we had 2,955. So we had about 45, 50 homes less close. So a downtick of negative 1.5% in closed sales in February compared to last year.
I'm jumping back to pending because I skipped it.
I know, that's why I'll give you a weird.
Yeah.
It's trying to flow. It's all right.
Yeah, it's flowing. It's flowing all right. So February of 2025, 2960. February of 2024, 3548. So we're down 16.6%, which is a significant downtick in pending sales, which we're going to talk about that and what's going on.
Which is weird comparing pending to closed. So the close represents the pendings of January, essentially.
Yeah, and the pendings of February are going to represent the close of March, which is interesting. We had a closing, I don't even know, last week, I think. What day is it today? Today's Friday. It was this week. We had a closing this week. And the title company that we closed with said we were the only closing scheduled that whole week.
When we get to the end of this, I have a theory on that.
All right.
All right, we're going to days on market until sale. February of 2025, we had 74. Prior year, so February 2024, there was 66 for an increase of about 12.1%. So it's acting like we had a huge jump, about 10 days, 8 days increase in the amount of times it takes till the sale of a property happens. So it's taking people longer to sell.
Which the last time we were at this same days on market was like February of 2016. February of 2016, yeah.
And remember, days on market until sale, it means until an accepted offer. So not actually the escrow period after you go into contract too. So
yeah, and what's an escrow period normally?
Essentially 30 days is kind of your average escrow period. So, 74, really you're 104 days till you have money in hand or in bank.
A little bit more than 3 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
So median sales price. Okay, remember the median is we line up all the prices, whack the top and the end off until we get to the center. So February 2024, our median sales price is $490,000. February 2025, median sales price is $505,000, an increase of 3.1%. Remember that pending sales and stuff down, but our sales price creeped up a little bit for our later arguments.
New listings up, pending close down, days on market up, and our prices. I'm going to cover average. So average price, this is taking all the sales and adding them up, dividing them by the input number. So last year we were 624,000. This year, 678,000, an 8.6% increase in the average sales price.
Using two different methodologies, that's saying that home prices have went up in the state of Utah in the last year.
Which is crazy. And what's crazy is how different those numbers are. You have the median price is $505, average is $678, $173,000 difference between the two. We got some pretty wild prices in the state.
We're on to percent of original list price received. And so in 2024 of February, it was 96.8%. In 2025 of February, it's 96.5%. Basically, it went down about 0.3%, but they're effectively the same. So people's homes are selling for about, if you're taking the average of it, about, not average, if you're leveling it out, it's 97%. So if you're buying a home for $100,000, you should expect to pay $97,000 for it.
But that doesn't include concessions.
No.
Which I had a seller ask me today on a house just under $500,000. He's like, what's the average concessions that we're seeing on homes in this price range? And I did another market report for another property, similar price range in Weber County. Out of 10 comparable solds in the past, it was like 4 months, 8 out of the 10 had seller paid concessions on there. And it ranged anywhere from $3,000 to $15,000. I would say the average was probably $7,000 to $10,000, which is kind of a lot for like a $500,000 house. People ask all the time, like, what are those used for? What's your answer? Why do buyers need
Prepaid
concessions?
interest, the cost of the loan. You can't use them for a down payment, but you can keep other money that has to come out of your pocket in your pocket or toward that down payment to be larger. So
Yeah.
Title fees, different things like that. You can actually buy a rate down, different things like that with the money.
It's expensive to buy a house right now because your interest is so high. You have your down payment that doesn't calculate for any of the costs of getting the loan. And then your closing costs is everything that Ben just talked about. So you kind of have like two down payments that you have to be saving for right now. I want to mention, though, the last time we were at this percentage of original list price received was about 2015. So that was a while ago. You got housing affordability?
The Housing Affordability Index. I'm not going to read what it says because I'm going to give you my definition. So the Housing Affordability Index is is it average or median? So the median household income compared to the median household cost and how affordable it is. So at 100, it is affordable, right? It's essentially the median household income can afford a medium household price. So the lower the number, the less affordable. The higher the number, the more affordable. 100 is considered affordable. Anything over 100 is considered in surplus of affordable. So February of 2024, we were at a 75, so 25 points less than affordable. February 2025, we are at 74, so we've dropped 1 point from last year to this year in affordability, a negative 1.3% decrease in affordability. We're about the same as compared to last year. There's not a whole lot of movement from last February to this February, but nowhere near affordable.
But we're about as unaffordable as we've ever been.
Right. Yep.
I mean, ever since 2022, we've just been unaffordable.
Yeah, it quite literally is the most unaffordable. I think January had us beat. No,
I think there was a time in February or
April of-
23.
that dipped.
Yeah, there was a dip in 23 where it was, but I mean, it's all about sixes, I would say.
We've been bouncing around the 70s for years now, it looks like.
Yeah, for the past 4 years, been extremely unaffordable. It really hit hard end of 2021, and that's when interest rates just skyrocketed.
So the way I see it, essentially, you need to make about 25% more than the median household income to afford the median home price that are going for today.
Yeah.
So
That's why there's just so much struggle on getting into a house. And if you're like a first-time home buyer, it's like good luck, you know.
Yeah. Yep. Inventory for you.
Okay, inventory of homes for sale. Last year 9,944. This year 12,439, which is the similar stats to what I just read, like going back to a year from today. So we're up 25%. Year over year change, which is quite a jump. That's a lot of new inventory for buyers to be looking at. So we'll kind of dive into that
when we get into the argument session of this.
Yeah. I mean,
Just real quick, though, to understand that in a way, if you were looking at 4 houses last year, this year you would have 5 houses an option. If you were last year looking and you're like, oh, there's 4 houses that work for me, hopefully statistically you would say, oh, okay, there's 5 houses this year that work for me.
yeah.
That's a very general.
Which is very nice. Like, it's a very nice, comfortable spot to be in as a buyer because you're not rushed. Like, back in 2021, 2022, it was like, well, if I get it, like, buyers were just forced into a house. Like, they were just lucky if they got a house, you know? That was terrible. I did not enjoy that time in the market.
All right. Month supply of inventory for 2024. February, there was about 3 months of inventory. This year of 2025, February 2025, there's about 3.6 months of inventory, basically saying that there's more homes on the market. It's kind of saying the exact same thing as we blabbered about a couple times now.
But that's one of the biggest upticks we've had in, like, looking back year over year, each month. like 0.6 is a big jump. Most of the time we're like pretty similar to last year.
0.6 is a
I see.
20%
Yeah.
year-over-year increase.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's quite a jump. If we look back, that's the highest jump we've had in the past year. Looking back month over month, so anything under 6 months supply is we consider it a seller's market. Anything over buyer's market. So we're going to jump into kind of our individual counties and just see, because that was the whole state in general. Every county kind of operates differently, and we're going to cover Morgan, Davis, Weber County, and Ogden Valley just to kind of see what's going on in those areas. And if you're in Cache County or Box Elder, it's going to be pretty similar. But let's...
Well, comment that down below, or anybody if you text us, you want those stats, any of us can send you those stats at any time.
Yeah, for sure. You want to cover Weber, Paden?
I'll start with Weber County. Do I want to go over everything or just talk about it?
I would just like anything that you notice that's really standing out.
You're going to cut that little piece out? No. So this is what's interesting. For Weber County, the amount of new listings is down 5.6%. So where we're seeing the rest of the state, there's more listings popping up. It looks like in Weber County, we're seeing less. And then on closed sales is similar. So 275 in 2024 to 260. So it decreased by about 5.5%, but it's effectively pretty close to the same amount of closed sales. It looks like the amount of new listings and the amount of closed sales both decreased by a similar percentage amount. Median sales price is up by $7,500, so $420,000 in 2024 to $427,500 for an increase of 1.8%. Average sales price went up by 1%. Percent of original list price received are both right around. Well, this year it's at 96%. About in 2024 is 96.7% or 97%. So you're seeing that sellers have more realistic expectations of what a home will sell for. We're starting to kind of get to that realm. Days on market until sale. This is very interesting. We're actually seeing a decrease in the amount of time that it's taking to sell a house from 73 last year to 67 this year, which is also different than the state average. Inventory of homes on sale is up by 36.6% from 674 last year to 921 this year. So that's on par. And then months of supply and inventory went from 2.4 months last year to 3.3 months this year for an increase of 37.5%, which is on par with the state as well, maybe a little bit high. Did I say that all right? Or did I?
That was impressive. Mm-hmm. Can you need to breathe for a second?
Well, I'm very exhausted. No.
Stats.
Yeah. Well, I do want to make this super clear. The fact that closed sales and new listings are similar, am I reading that right? Because
You're reading
that's
it
off.
Do you need your glasses?
Maybe. Yeah, so new listings for the state are up 7.8%, where for Weber County, they're down 5.6%. So we're seeing opposite metrics in Weber County as compared to the state.
But pending sales is down 33%.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing.
And you can't you can't compare it either because there's such a micro market. I mean,
yeah.
Well, and I get that. I'm trying to understand. It seems like in Weber County we're having. I'm interested to see if that 33.8% decrease in pending sales carries over to the month of March the way we're expecting it to, because pending sales means nothing's been completed effectively.
Right.
And it's a guesstimate of what's going to happen next month. But if we saw pending sales go down that far next month, that would be a huge indicator. But just interesting. That's interesting to see.
And so I've got Morgan, and Morgan is beat to the tune of its own drum because it's such a small metric that we pull from. But we're telling an opposite story as the rest of the state. So other than our listings, we are getting 25. We're up 56% on our listings, which is a big jump for Morgan. Pending sales, though, we're up. We're up 50% on our pending sales.
Yeah.
Closed sales, we're down just a little bit from February. But our median and our average sales price both went down. Okay. And our month supply of inventory also went down. Days on market, down. Inventory of homes for sale, up. But our pendings are higher. So Morgan is doing good. Looks like our price points are coming back to reality a little bit in Morgan. People are starting to sell some lower end homes. And I think that's really what's affecting Morgan is really all that's happened. It only takes 2 or 3 different home sales, but I myself have seen them. There's some shouldn't say lower end of the price spectrum.
Lower cost.
Yeah, lower cost homes.
Okay, Ogden Valley, I'll hit real fast. So I just have this on a card that we made. Total volume sold in Ogden Valley. This is across 9 homes sold. There was 10,531,000. Average sold price 1,170,000.
Say that again.
10 million.
And how many houses?
9.
So all of them are at or
Average
over $1 million.
Yeah, average price is 1.17. Average days on market 107. Percentage of original list price received 87%. So the Valley it's a very unique. It's
Temperamental.
It's very temperamental, and I explain it to people like I think a second home or a vacation home, which there's a ton of those up in the Valley. That's a luxury item, and anytime the market's contracting, like those are the first things to go or to sit longer. Like people are less likely to build their dream home or a second home if they're questioning like how's my business doing, how's my income looking. They're just not going to pull the trigger on that. The tariffs, like many people have pulled the plug on buying a lot or building because of the unknown with the tariffs. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now. And I think that's what we're seeing in these second markets where there's a lot of second homes and vacation homes. That's why we're seeing days on market higher than the state. Percentage of original list price received is, that's 13% lower, not including concessions, which is just crazy.
Big numbers, actual big numbers.
Actual big numbers. And when you do that on like a big house, like a house that's 1.5 or 2 million, like it's pretty crazy to see some of the numbers that are out there.
But what's crazy is the average price went up.
I know. It went up compared to last month. Yeah.
And that compares with what Morgan's went down.
Slightly
but
though.
But the state says the same story.
Yeah.
Everything else is slowing, giving every indicator that our prices should be dipping.
Yeah.
But they're not.
So let's hit Davis County, then we'll talk about that because Davis County is the same. New listings up 1.9%. So basically the same. Pending sales down 29%. Closed sales down 23%. Davis County is a pretty it's a hot market in the state of Utah. Average and median sales prices are both up. Not a lot, but average is up 4.3%. Days on market till sell up 12%. Inventory of homes for sale similar up 29%. Basically 30%. And month supply of inventory up 42%. These are huge numbers. And so this brings us to our discussion. Would you guys say we can kind of start the discussion of we're seeing pending and closed sales down on average leading into this spring, and which is affecting our inventory of home sales or inventory of homes for sale is up like 20 to 30% depending on the area. And our days on market are going up, yet we're still seeing prices hold strong, and they're not really coming down. And one thought that I have that just kind of came to me is maybe, we're comparing the median and average prices are comparing homes that were going under contract and selling months ago, right? Mm-hmm. Like those were probably stuff December, January, February-ish. Not even February, really.
Maybe
it was
the
probably,
first day of February.
It could have been like, even into December. But we're all like, it's just, it would seem with this much more inventory that we would see a more of a struggle on our median and average sales prices.
See, and I don't think, I think what we're thinking is all the numbers are indicating here. The stats are saying you should see a down plunge coming. We should see these numbers coming. But what I'm seeing is I'm not so much looking at the numbers. I'm looking at the time, right?
Yeah.
It's tax season. Nobody's spending money yet until they know how their businesses did, how much they have to pay, how much they're going to get back. Not only that, we're just barely kissing into like that March, February it rose. But those numbers are going to, new pending and new listing sales, I think are going to jump even harder in March because we're starting to get that spring fever that's when agents are like, hey, now it's a great time to sell your house, because that's when people start buying is March, April, May. And so I think we're in that weird, it's not the market that's being weird, it's us as people which control the market.
But
We're not buying right now.
But these stats are comparing similar time to last year. Like the biggest change this year is we just went through an election cycle.
Sure.
Versus last year. But last year, I mean, we're comparing February's numbers of last year when people were doing taxes and doing all that last year.
Right. But so we're still having, I see what you're saying. We're going from last year.
Yeah.
Okay. So pending sales. Yeah. So
So-
we would be down. So is it just
I mean,
the economic atmosphere?
the only change that I can see is the election and what happened there. And I am getting a lot of feedback of like, I don't watch the news very much. I don't watch it at all, actually. So when my clients talk to me, that's when I hear like, I'm hearing a lot of fear about the tariffs and construction and building and what interest rates are going to do. So unless people are really needing to move, a lot of people aren't.
Do you think this is fear though, or is this confidence? Because we're not going to tell. So we got new listings, right? So we know what the new listings are in February, but none of those new listings are going to be affected until March. So we're not going to see the stats on those. So is that confidence in the market? Now everybody's going, okay, I can make a move now. Or what is that?
No, I think my
If you're
my theory is we've had so many sellers that are married to their low interest rate,
Right.
and they're finally hitting a point where they're like, okay, well, rates are kind of just where they're at now, and I have to move. Like, I think people are just getting into a point where their backs are up against the wall, and they're like, our housing situation has to change, whether we love our interest rate or not. Like, we just have to change this. And so I think you're seeing that happen. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you got a mixture of everything. I think what we're working against as well was we saw demand decrease last month, and then did we see demand decrease in December as well? Even regardless, we're seeing homes stay on the market for longer, and so we're seeing more inventory partially just because there's homes that are on the market for a longer time. And so then, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I agree.
And then your new listings, because your new listings only went up by 1.9% from
Yeah.
last year to this year, which isn't
that's you're just looking at Davis
my
County.
bad.
They went up
Wrong one.
almost 8%.
but even still,
Oh, this-
8%,
yeah.
because the amount of inventory on the market is up
Yeah, I
30
mean,
or 20 or
300
30.
It's about 350 homes in 1 month in Utah, which really is a drop of the bucket when we're talking.
But I mean, still almost 10% is a fair amount of new listings. But I think it's a mixture of we're getting a little bit more new listings and then a lot of homes that just aren't selling as fast. And I think the question is where is that point where we get so many active available listings where it starts to pull down our prices? Because we haven't seen that yet.
And I don't think we're going to. That's where I'm having some disagreements is I think we're all looking at this like, why is this happening? What's going on? And I'm looking at it going, it's slightly different, but it's been doing the same story year over year
Yeah.
for the last 20 years. The same story is being told. We're just not used to seeing it because we haven't seen it. And from about 2022 to 2023 hasn't been as drastic. And now we're finally starting to see a little bit bigger swings. But
Which if we look at the inventory of homes for sale chart, like we are at similar inventory levels that we were at all throughout 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 2020 is when it really dipped down. And then it kind of came back up and we were around the same levels in 2022. But yeah, you're probably right, Ben. We are getting back to more of a normal basis. And that's kind of my theory is I think it takes a lot more inventory and days on market for sellers to be like, hey, I'm going to start slashing my listing price because
their reality in pricing is coming back.
yeah, because even if we look at the days on market discussion, we're still probably well below. I know we're well below our average, and we're probably at similar days on market. Well, we're a little bit above. The last time was 2015 that we were this high on days on market, but we're not too far off from. This is an interesting discussion. Like between 50 and 75 days on market is where we were at all throughout 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 2020. So that 5-year span, we were all around that 50 to
Same.
75 days on market, where prices, and we could go back and look and see where prices dropped, but it was in that 2008 to 2012 range, and homes were on the market for an average of 100 to 140 days on market. And I think that's where we saw the biggest hit on prices. Would you guys agree?
Biggest hit on prices, but you have to remember when we see these hits, we're a slow climb up the mountain, and we see these big hits. It's not like the market; it's just those downticks, right? And then we're still climbing.
So my theory is that I think we need we need more listings. We need days on market would probably have to be pushing 100 days on market before we really
Sellers react.
Well, and there are sellers out there that are like, you can get decent deals. Like in the Valley, like 87% of original list price received that's a lot of negotiation happening there. But I think there's so many people that are like, I've seen whole neighborhoods sell because one neighbor got a crazy price for their house
And then set the standard.
and then I was talking to some couples last night, and they're like, they just moved, they built a new house in a new neighborhood, and I'm like, do you miss your old neighborhood? They're like, no, because everybody sold after we sold. Like, we're seeing that in a few areas up in the Valley where like one neighbor gets like this crazy price for the house, and then all the other neighbors are like, well, if I can get that for my house, I'm out of here, you know?
Here's a strategy question for you, Clancy.
I'm listening.
Going off of what Paden said there, what's better? Do you, as an agent talking to your buyers, wait until the sellers soften a little bit, be patient, or are you going in and throwing punches and softening them up with offers?
My technique's always the same, and I think right now it would work better than a lot of other times. If you're wanting to buy a house and you're wanting it at a specific price, I'm submitting offers as quick as I can for homes that function, work well for people, and a mortgage that's manageable for them at a price that they're comfortable with, and having sellers say no. It would work especially well if you have multiple homes that would functionally work really well for you. I think right now is a great opportunity to be submitting a lot of offers at prices that you're comfortable with, as long as your agent's willing to do it as well. It's going to be super emotional. You're going to have a lot of people saying no, and it's going to be a whole thing where maybe somebody's reputation is going to go down if you're submitting 500 offers. But if you're submitting reasonable offers that you feel comfortable with, and you're doing that over and over again, you can deal with it emotionally. Right now is the exact time to do that specific strategy.
If you want the best price.
If you're only focused, you can't get the perfect house and the best price. It's impossible. It's a sliding spectrum. If you're wanting to get less of a house that you like and you're more willing to open up your focus or whatever, you're gonna be able to submit offers on more houses. If you want your specific house that works perfectly for you, you can never get the best price because it's a sliding scale.
Mm-hmm. I mean, overall, now's a great time for buyers to get into a house overall. Like, I mean, I don't think it's never a great idea to just wait for the market, because you never know what the market's going to do. It could go down in 2 months, or it could be crazy high, because all it's going to take is the Fed meeting, you know, and they're going to say we're lowering rates, and then all of a sudden it's a feeding frenzy, you know. So
well, and once again, to be super clear, nobody in this room and whoever's watching are not smart enough at macro and microeconomics with real estate to be able to judge where prices are going to go. It's almost impossible to follow those trends correctly because of all this stuff. So if you're looking to buy a house and you're comfortable doing it, submit it. It doesn't matter when you do it. It doesn't. You're never going to guess when the price. Timing the market has literally never worked for anybody ever.
Right.
So it doesn't. Just timing the market in general doesn't work.
Yeah. So what are your guys' advice, given the market data that we're seeing right now, for buyers, and then we'll go into sellers?
Sellers, given the market data, I still get your shit ready. Let's list. Let's get on the market, because springtime's coming up, and if you're gonna sell, either now or you're gonna be waiting for a slow time again. Like right now is a heat up moment for listings.
Yeah. And you can kind of showcase your house, because while we're getting more inventory, there's going to be a lot more coming as the flowers come out and the trees bloom and everything like that. So get your house on the market now, beat that rush, because come like May, June, it's like you're kind of drowned out in the noise, right?
Right.
And then everybody's gone for July. I feel like July is one of the slowest months.
Yeah, it's camping, vacation,
Yeah.
get it all in, hoorah. And then buyers, I'm not even going to entertain what you should do in this market right now. I'm going to have the same advice for buyers at all point. If your timing as a person, financially, maritally, boyfriend, girlfriendy, whatever, if your life is ready and that's your next step, get in the market, get looking, make an informed decision, because right now you can and you're not in a rush.
Yeah.
But I think that same advice stays year round, even in a crazed market, in a slow market, in a healthy market.
Yeah.
If you're ready in life, because the only thing you can guarantee in real estate is the longer you're in the market, the better you're going to be off.
My advice for sellers would be price aggressively and market. This is specifically a moment in time that having a real estate agent that markets very effectively is important, and you want as many eyes on it as possible in that first.
So what does
period.
price aggressively mean?
Realistically, maybe.
Yeah, realistically, I just think that especially if you're looking at a house and you have a bunch of different comps on it, so you kind of know what you're looking at. Take whatever those expectation of prices are, and I would say, if you're comfortable pricing it just a little bit below what you're seeing that average is a good idea. If you want to price at the average, it might take a little bit of time, but the death kill is going to be pricing above what the market value is and just decreasing the amount of people looking at your house.
So I've ran into that because in the past month, I think I've listed 5 different properties. One has gone under contract that was listed previously. The other ones, and every seller, I'm like, okay, here's the low, medium, and like higher side. Where do you want to list? And we kind of sit down and figure out where they want to list together. And a lot of them choose like the higher side. And I couldn't agree with you more. Now is not the time to like shoot for the stars and like try and get lucky, because nobody's getting lucky.
You won't.
We're not getting lucky right now. We're getting a lot of showings, and like I pulled some numbers on showings and stuff like that. A lot of these properties, we have anywhere from 10 to 20 showings and still no offers on a lot of them.
I think that's exactly when you said get lucky. You say I give the high, basically where it values at, and then just below that.
Well, the middle is like where I think it would appraise at, and then high is like maybe $10,000 to $20,000 above that. It depends on the price of the house. But yeah, a lot of people are like, yeah, let's push for that higher number, and I'm just not having luck with that strategy right now.
Well, and explaining to people, this is what I've been trying to be more aggressive about. There's a totally different scenario when somebody submits an offer on your house in the first 2 weeks as there is when it's been on the market for 70 days.
Why is that?
Position. In the first 2 weeks, you as a seller are now you have high ground, right?
Yeah.
You have negotiating power. You've been, for every month you're staying on the market, you're coming down on that high ground, right?
Not only are you having to possibly lower your price every time a buyer comes and looks at the house, they're like, oh, this has been on the market for 3 months. Like,
And then they're asking the same question.
what's wrong
Why?
with it? Yeah.
Yep. Or they'll go, hey, it's been on for 3 months. Let's throw them a low offer and see what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And the seller's just physically exhausted after 3 months. It's just
Right.
a simple, you're showing a house, you're tired.
Right. Well, yeah, you have to live in it like you don't live in it. And it costs money, the holding cost to stay in a house once you decide to sell.
Yeah. So, what's your advice for buyers right now? Did you give buyer advice?
As buyers, I would just stick with the exact same sliding scale that it is. If you're looking for a very specific house, you need to be, if you find that house, submit an offer on it at a price that you're comfortable at, and you're always submitting offers at places that you're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Only if the mortgage payment's manageable and the home functionally works well for what you're trying to accomplish. Those things always come before submitting offers. But right now, I think is a great time to be able to have options on a home without as much people trying to submit offers around you.
Yeah.
You notice how he didn't say now's a cheap time to get into a home.
You have options.
It's an options.
Yeah.
You're not going to be pressured to make a bad decision
Right.
trying to keep up with the market.
And I think you can get a very fair deal in this market right now.
Yeah, and you once again, you can always get a really great deal on a house as long as you slide your expectation for what your needs in that home are.
Right. We can find you a good fixer-upper.
100 every day.
It's kind of like what my wife did with me. She just lowered her expectations. Got a hell of a
Submitted
deal.
a low offer.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I agree with you guys on everything. I think one thing that I think both buyers and sellers need to hash out is like, communication and getting like setting a plan in place. Cause I get so many calls that they're like, hey, I think we want to buy a house this year. And it was like, just cause they were looking at Zillow that night, they're like, all of a sudden want to buy a house. Like, get your ducks in order, talk to a lender, like write out the plan. What's the vision for what you're trying to accomplish here? Does it make sense? Like, are you selling your house? Are you keeping it? I have a lot of buyers right now that have houses that they have to sell in order to buy another house. And it is not the market to try and buy a house contingent to your house selling. You're going to get raked over the coals on the purchase, and then you're going to be rushed trying to sell your house in the slower market when you're. Yep.
So, well, Paden drew 2 arrows. He drew 1 arrow for selling your house and 1 arrow for buying a house. That created an arrow, but he did it wrong. It's actually a wall that you're creating when you're trying to do things too quickly.
I was drawing a house. But yes, that is what you're doing when you're doing that. So, anyways,
building a wall.
Any last minute words of wisdom or advice?
We're just reading tea leaves here. Nobody can predict the market.
The most important thing in a real estate agent is that they care about you and they're honest.
I like that. And I'll end with Paden or Clancy's famous saying, "Real estate, what a hoot."
I thought it was going to be the other one.
Well,
My name. No.
what's the other one?
We don't need to talk about that. Let's wait till these cameras.